So onto the call. I have two main announcements for this month. The first was after the final Galaxy campaign for August. We as Boardroom essentially we wanted to shift our efforts a little bit. Which I wrote about this a little bit in the last monthly report, but the gist of it is that we want to focus more now on a long term and more sustainable growth of basically all aspects of Moonwell governance. So on one end that will be the delegate structure, and on the other end that will be we're hoping to create a better community onboarding process. So yeah, we basically just want to make it easier for new entrants coming into Moonwell to say like, okay, here are the things that are important to know. Here's where I can get all this info. Here's how I vote, delegate, contribute to the forums. So yeah, whether you're an incoming delegate or just a voter. Yeah, so the broad idea for this quarter is just to create those foundations and better onboarding templates, basically, to help facilitate future growth when the market picks back up. So yeah, so you can expect comms and forum posts in the next couple of months, outlining our thoughts on all of that. But yeah, so that's the main point. And then the second, more specific thing is that we're going to be launching a new delegate system, which is not live yet. So I'll go ahead and give a quick overview of it, though. Basically, we created a tiered role-based system for new delegates to get onboarded through. So the first role being a junior delegate, the second is like just a mid-tier, worth calling a delegate, and then the third and final tier is a super delegate. So yeah, there's going to be unique requirements to progress through each role, and there's going to be different tasks or contributions for each type of delegate to complete. And for current delegates, the system will contain things that you're basically already doing. We just wanted to really formalize all of it and make it more systematic. Um, yeah, so that's the exciting thing. And to basically kick all this new system off, we're going to run what we're calling a delegate rush program. It's going to be basically a 2-month period where we'll have application open for the first month for anybody who wants to become a delegate. They can apply, and then the second month will be a delegation period where the community at large can vote for this new class of applicants. So and then for the successful applicants to go through this program, they'll be promoted straight to the mid-tier level of delegates. So they'll skip the junior role. So yeah, I know that was a lot. There's going to be comms and forum posts and whatnot for all of this going up soon. So you guys can read up on all of the details. So yeah, and with that out of the way, we can shift over to our speakers for today. If there's anybody else that's speaking today who hasn't already raised your hand, you can go ahead and do that, and I'll get you on the stage. But yeah, just as a quick agenda, we have a pretty stacked lineup. We're honored as usual to have the hardworking Gauntlet guys on. I think Sai is here, and then we have two first timers for the call. We have reps from Kelp DAO and from Origin Protocol. And yeah, so lots to do. I will first throw it over to Gauntlet here. Okay, so Sai, if you want to take it away, we can talk about either the most recent weekly update or the larger monthly post.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex, for the intro. And yeah, I think I'll just start with the more meteor section, which is just the monthly recommendations. Going to just walk through over it, and let's start with base because that's a bit interesting. So from looking at just the base markets, we have decided to increase collateral factors for VETH and LSTs. And it's pretty interesting to see the borrow supply composition of users who are using these markets. Like traditionally, we have observed that a lot of altcoins were kind of used as collateral to borrow stables, and that's kind of been the de facto use previously. But I think with the advent of LSTs and just since we were having more of the recursive strategies going on, a lot of these supply borrow compositions is getting skewed towards correlated assets. And that kind of makes us think more about what these collateral factors need to be. And since we've initially kind of modeled these around USDC or like notional value, we're kind of tending more towards what the correlations between similar or like assets is going to be. And on that note, we've increased collateral factor for VETH from 81% to 84%. What we've observed is over 50% of like supply borrow on Moonwell base is coming from one user, and they're running this recursive strategy. And the rest of the is some of the users are borrowing stables. So the overall risk profile by increasing this collateral factor doesn't kind of change a lot. It kind of mitigates it because we have more capital efficiency here. So yeah, we went ahead and recommended increasing the collateral factor for BETH. For LSTs such as CB ETH, RETH, and wrap staked ETH, we've recommended increasing the CF from 78% to 81%. And this is largely backed by this data where what we're seeing is for CB ETH and Rocket Pool ETH, over like 60% of supplies are basically borrowing either ETH or LSTs. So it's again correlated as well. And the rest of them are like stable coins. So yeah, this kind of CF definitely increases just efficiency within the market, but at the same time not kind of basically de-risks some of it as well. The only exception in this case would be wrap staked ETH, where majority of users are borrowing stable coins instead of correlated assets. But we kind of modeled this around the returns and volatility of wrap staked ETH with USDC, and we see like over the course of last 180 days, the minimum, like the most negative deviation for wrap staked ETH with USDC has been about like 10.6%. So even if we add that, there's sufficient buffer between the recommended CFs and the deviations that we see on market to kind of, pad some of the liquidations that we would otherwise encounter with. So yeah, again, we definitely want to kind of increase the CFs to match what the current composition of supply borrowers are. And yeah, moving on from that, we've recommended decreasing collateral factor for USDBC and recommended increasing reserve factor for USDBC as well. I think the overall market has kind of dwindling down, and we want to kind of slowly wrap it and see if we want to deprecate it sometime in the future. And on that note, we're heading towards the direction of risk-off measures with decreasing CFs and increasing RS. For Arrow, we've recommended increasing the supply cap and borrow cap as well. Although for Arrow, we are seeing a lot of supplies, like of the top 20, the top 11 suppliers are just supply only with no debt. So we're thinking that that's what the market fit here is. Arrow is like predominantly being used as supply only because there is definitely a lot of borrow demand, but the choice of borrow asset for Arrow is done here. So it makes sense to increase supply caps and kind of open the gates for more capital to flow in. But at the same time, we've recommended some IR changes for Arrow given the really high borrow demand. So yeah, we've increased jump multiplier from 4.1 to 5. What that basically does is if the utilization is above the kink and if it's like out there for a pretty sustained amount of times, this jump multiplier adds like a huge slope increase for the interest rates. So we see like an exponential increase in interest rates, and that hopefully helps bring down some of the utilization towards the kink, which is at about 45%. So ideally, the plan here is to increase supply and borrow caps to let more users and more capital within the market, but at the same time keep the utilization at a healthy level, because we do definitely need additional buffer. If there's like market conditions where there's a lot of volatility, we don't want caps to be pretty close to full if users wants to exit or like close positions essentially. On IR parameters, we've kind of reduced borrow APR for USDC, and this is largely backed by the DAI savings rate that we're seeing. Currently, the DAI savings rate is at about like 6%. The last time more recently that we made this recommendation, and it's kind of fallen from 15 and then 8 and then 6, and this is signaling a demand for stablecoin borrowing across the market, and we want to keep the rates really competitive on Moonwell. So the current decrease in IR parameters would stage borrow APRs at 4.5%, which is still lower than DSR because we want to remain competitive, but at the same time kind of match the directional change in overall stablecoin borrowing rates. So yeah, that's it for base. But moving on to optimism, the biggest recommendations that we've made here is largely around wrapped Bitcoin. I think we are about 25 or 20-ish days before the joint venture between BitGo and BitGlobal kind of formalizes, and we're expecting there's going to be some level of volatility in the market, either a lot of people swapping wrap Bitcoin out to other BTC assets, or just in general a lot of movement. And on that note, we've reduced borrow cap for wrap Bitcoin from 18 to 10, increased reserve factor from 10% to 30%, and reduced collateral factor from 81% to 79%. Essentially, taking risk off measures, kind of being prepared for any volatility that hits the market. So yeah, I think with these recommendations, we should essentially cover some of the risk. But if there's more, if the markets show any more movements, we'd be happy to kind of address that as well. Apart from that, on optimism, we've kind of made changes to stablecoin interest rate parameters. Like I just discussed for base, we brought it down to 4.5% across USDC, USDT, and DAI, essentially kind of keeping the rates competitive and trying to track what the DSR is signaling. So yeah, that's about it for optimism. For Moonbeam and Moonriver, I think I'll probably try to keep this short. The narrative kind of remains the same. We're seeing decrease in TVL across these two chains and kind of decrease in liquidity on the major dexes as well. And so we're continuously monitoring these stuff, and we recommended decreasing borrow caps, decreasing collateral factors across a host of assets on Moonbeam and Moonriver. We also proposed to adjust interest rate parameters for Frax and USDC. Since we want to take risk-off measures here, we've increased the borrow APRs on these chains because it makes sense to keep them aligned with the broader market should there be liquidity. But since the liquidity is kind of not there, it makes sense to take risk-off measures and increase borrow rates here. We don't want to attract too much TVL that it's really difficult to liquidate. So we've increased the borrow APRs. We reduced the utilization at Kink from like 75 to 65%. Essentially, just keeping it at a good stage. Should the liquidity dry up even further, yeah, we take more actions on that. But yeah, I think that's the broader theme for Moonbeam and Moonriver. Yeah, I can speak about the specifics of the assets that we've made recommendations to, but you can also find that in the forum post. So yeah, I'll probably talk a little bit more about the weekly market updates. Since for base, since we've kind of started incentivizing some of the borrower side, we're definitely seeing an uptick on utilization for LSTs, which is nice. Always good to have healthy utilization. So that's the major standout here. We are definitely seeing some more capital flowing from EtherFi, but it's not significant, but definitely we kind of inching closer to drawing in more liquidity there. Apart from that, we've seen some major liquidations on Arrow to the tune of 70K, and some other minor liquidations across wrapped ETH, DAI, and USDC, but not too significant. Arrow still seems to be the driving factor for revenue and fees for Moonwell base. And yeah, as we've seen, like there's a huge borrower demand, and we have like pretty decent reserve factors. So yeah, nice to see that all the revenue that Arrow is bringing into the protocol. For optimism, we're kind of seeing some a mixed signal here. Some balances dropping, some balances increasing, but I think that's nothing to stand outish here. We've also seen no liquidations here so far on optimism's market. We expect as more TVL flows in and people start taking more aggressive positions, maybe we can see some of those stuff out there. But yeah, on Moonbeam, we've seen some surprising developments here. We did see increase in borrow balance demand for wrap BTC wormhole and USDC wormhole, and I think that's primarily driven by some of the incentives there. So yeah, ideally we wouldn't want utilization to be creeping up here, but I think it's still at a level that's tolerable. Did see liquidations on Glimmer, low 4 digits there, and so far the annualized reserves or the fees that Moonbeam is bringing in for Moonwell is about to the tune of around 60K annually. Yeah, I'll move on to Moon River, and yeah, this is going to be pretty short and sweet. There's decrease in borrow balances for Mover, some decrease in supply balances for Kusuma, XE, KSM as well. We did see an increase in utilization for Frax, but again, kind of we believe we've reduced these interest rates here, keeping in mind some of the debt that's prevailing there, but again, nothing of concern. No asset has supplier borrow cap usage above 75%, which is nice. And we again did see some really small liquidations on Mover. So yeah, I think that wraps up some of the weekly summary that about the market that we've seen over the course of last week.
All right, thank you, Sai. I increased my output volume, by the way, so let me know if anyone still can't hear me, or if it's too loud now. You can let me know that as well. And if you missed any info in my intro, there will be a YouTube video afterwards with full captions, so you can check that out later. And then, okay, from here, let's go ahead and go over to Kelp DAO. I think we have Audie here. I don't believe we have Sophia, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
Hey Alex, hey everyone. Thanks everyone for joining in. I'm Aditya from the DeFi and Partnerships team at Kelp. I also have on call Sophia with me. There were some Discord issues, so she wasn't able to join in. But yeah, she is there on the call as well. Firstly, before starting on, I thank the Moonwell team for inviting us for the Moonwell governance call. I think this is like a fantastic initiative. I loved hearing insights from Gauntlet as well, and I'm excited for what the Origin protocol has there as well. Um, so just giving a quick brief about Kelp. Right now, our overall TVL across chains sits at about 700 million. We recently launched on Base like about like 2 months back. We launched native restaking solution on Base. So essentially, users who actually come and restake with us with their ETH, they get restaking rewards, Kelp points, and Eigen layer points in return. And they get a receipt token, which is WR receipt. This can further be utilized on DeFi, on Aerodrome Finance, Extra Finance, and hopefully Moonwell as well in the next few weeks. Through our research, we actually found Moonwell to be one of the best protocols to partner with on Base. It has the right amount of active community, and also allows for a massive market opening for WRCs as well. So there's like definitely a lot of synergies around there. We have been discussing a lot with Majin and Luke on the same as well. So just an update from our side, we actually had a snapshot proposal sent out. This was like about a week back. We had during in our proposal we highlighted he highlighted the benefits of having WRCs on Moonwell. Some of them like just like briefly adding them here. Some of them includes obviously increased TVL inflow with asset listing. This also actually increases the overall base lending markets. Secondly, it makes Moonwell the hub for leading LRTs on base and optimism. So with the inclusion of WETH, Easy ETH, and WRC going on, uh, like Moonwell would become like the base of every single LRT out there, and every single user for LRTs as well would be using Moonwell only. Right? That's like definitely a very big market size over there. The third thing that I would like to add on to is apart from the restaking yields, there's always the points multipliers that come in. So users of WRCs are getting Kelp miles and Aguilera points, even if the deposits on Moonwell and hold it. Right? Deposit on Moonwell will obviously have like a point multiplier on top. So that's an alpha out there. Some status updates from our snapshot. We posted the snapshot 1 week back. We received an overwhelming response, about like 15 million well and positive, and about two naysayers in the last few hours. We had a single large large naysayer in the last few hours, which held about 40 million well. Um, we invite we would really like to know like insights from the community and the voters who voted against to hear their thoughts on why WRCs is not a great addition to the Moonwell markets. This will let us also rework our strategy, come back with a better plan to integrate further. Um, if the naysayers are like on the call, would love to hear their insights like on chat or on the call. Alex, do we have the facility to probably like bring people on board um, to chat?
Yeah, if there's anything in the chat, people can throw it up. Let's see.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I would just like to hear like community insights if there's any to discuss right now. Apart from that, we'll also be sending out a reply on the snapshot on the forum post, and we'll be also posting another snapshot proposal early next week to get WRCs listed again. Hopefully, we'll get to hear some insights from the community and the single large 40 million well holder who actually voted against, right? Want to resolve that ASAP before actually putting on this next snapshot proposal. Um, that's the only thing in mind right now. Yeah. Yeah. Apart from that, yeah. I mean, snapshot proposal early next week, and would love to, as soon as the assets live, would love to collaborate with the Moonwell team on getting it out there in the market.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's always great to give feedback on proposals if there was something that the community thought wasn't up to par. It's always good to give that feedback so that we can make adjustments going forward. So yeah, I definitely encourage people to get active on the forums. And of course, you can always raise your hand during these calls as well. So all right, well, yeah, thank you, Adi. And last but not least, we'll go over to Origin Protocol, who has not made a post yet, but they're here to introduce the protocol and the new LST. So whenever you're ready.
Thanks for having me. And you can hear me okay, right?
Yep, I got you.
Cool. So for those listening in that I haven't met or spoken with before, I'm Peter from Origin. I've been a BD manager at Origin for the last 2 years, but I've personally been in the space since 2013. And at Origin, my job is to help integrate us with other platforms and products. And so I'm here today to talk about Super OETH. So I think the best way to get into this is to actually take a step back a bit and run through just kind of how we got here. Because Super OETH is really in the newest iteration of an older project from Origin. So that's kind of where I'm going to start. So Origin actually was founded a long time ago in 2017. So it's one of the older projects in the space. We raised some money from an ICO back then with Pantera and Spartan being the leading investors then. And we pivoted a whole bunch in the early years. And we ended up finding some success with rolling out, at the time, the first ever yield-bearing stablecoin or stablecoin aggregator in right around 2020, which is the Origin Dollar, which the website for now, I believe, is this one. So for the 3 years after launching OUSD, we were making improvements to it and adding yield strategies on the back end. And it was generating some pretty decent APYs, and we got the yield or the TVL all the way up to like 300 million or something like that. The yield is still pretty good, even with the lower TVL now. It's like between 8 and 10%. But we started to lose focus around it, and in 2023, we actually made the call to fork it and relaunch it as an ETH-based version, which is OETH, or an aggregator for ETH. And so at its launch, OETH was essentially the exact same thing as OUSD, except that OUSD was an aggregator for stablecoins. So you come to the protocol with another stablecoin, and you can mint OUSD one-to-one. So OETH worked the same way, except that instead of stablecoins, we were using ETH and LSTs as backing collateral. So we took all of the learnings and security features and code from OUSD that was already battle tested with hundreds of millions of dollars, and we just reapplied them to this new vertical for Ethereum. And for the first year after launching OETH, it was great. We were able to generate 4 to 5% APY. Actually, at the launch, it was like 8 to 10, which was solid, but now it's closer to 4 to 5%. But we started hitting some roadblocks, and the roadblocks were coming because the protocol was actually quite a complicated product. A lot of projects were perceiving it as risky due to there being something like 35 to 40 different smart contracts all kind of working together on the back end. This is the website for it, by the way. And so in March of this year, a proposal went up to simplify it and to turn it from an aggregator into an actual LST. And I do have that proposal for that right here. And that passed. So because of that, we had this huge transition that took several months. So all of the yield strategies were turned off. Most of them were, at least. The ability to mint with other LSTs was turned off, and all of the collateral LSTs were divested back to ETH. And then we partnered with SSV and P2P to be our operators and to run several thousand validators. And as of a few weeks ago, that is finally all complete. So OETH is now no longer an aggregator. It's a true LST, getting its yield from the native beacon chain staking and from the one strategy that we kept, which is the AMO strategy, which helps keep the peg tight and also helps generate some yield. And so fast forward to about 2 weeks ago, we decided to fork the OETH protocol again, but this time into an L2 version of OETH that is entirely native to the base chain. And the name that we're going for that is Super OETH. And the name is kind of has a double meaning to it. On one hand, it's super because it's part of the super chain, but on the other hand, it's super because we're kind of considering it to be a whole new category, and we're naming that category supercharged LSTs. Supercharged because they should be significantly higher yielding than standard LSTs to mainnet or wrapped versions. So the website we launched for this is right here. And so with Super OETH, all of the liquidity is maintained with the concentrated liquidity pool on Aerodrome. The yield will still come partially from the beacon chain staking, in this case from wrapped OETH, but the rest will come from an Aerodrome AMO. We're anticipating the native yield to be somewhere around 15% APY once it's fully ramped up. There's no point system at all. This is true actual yield that you're getting that can be converted back to ETH at any time, one-to-one. So it'll be another week or two before it's fully ramped up. So we don't have the actual APY yet on the website, which is why if you click that last link, you'll just see the numbers spinning. But the TVL for it has been growing pretty rapidly without us doing any marketing for it just yet. It's just about to cross 6 million, which is cool to see. The actual app for it is this website. But we're anticipating it to be one of the best ever tokens for leverage looping due to its super tight peg to ETH and from the high yields it'll be able to earn natively. So our plan with it initially is to submit a proposal to a platform like Moonwell, at least at some point in the near future, once it's fully onboarded. But for a Moonwell market, we think that the most obvious type of market would just be to borrow ETH against Super OETH, since it's backed by Super OETH. So in the coming weeks, once it's fully ramped up, we have plans to do that. We'll have some additional audits completed as well before that point, but the code base is mostly the same from the mainnet OETH, which was mostly the same from OUSD. So that code base has already been audited about 12 times over the last few years. And then we've kept OpenZeppelin on retainer as well the last few years to run quarterly audits for us. So we're pretty confident in the code base. Minting it can be done one-to-one from that last link I shared, or if you prefer the old-fashioned way, I guess you could go to the Aerodrome pool for that. And exits are always available through either method, either through the DApp or from Aerodrome. We also have plans to bring Super OETH to Optimism with pretty much the same mechanics, just using Velodrome as the core DEX for the AMO instead of Aerodrome. And we think that should be done in probably a matter of weeks. But right now we're focusing fully on Super OETH. We're pretty excited to see it officially launch next week.
All right. Thank you, Peter. You came prepared with the links. That was impressive as you're going along. And then right before we wrap up, Adi, I think you had one more point you wanted to mention.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, just wanted to add in, especially just what completing what Peter was saying. I think leverage looping strategies work amazingly well for LFTs and LRTs. I'm pretty sure there's a huge market for that for Moonwell and Aerodrome to work together for that. Just one point coming back to the snapshot as well. was that we noticed that the single large 40 million well holder could this action could also be taken by one of our competitors. Just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to point that out so that we actually, so that as a community, like we ensure that all of these votes are extremely democratic. I have Sophia here as well. She just wanted to add on some points on that as well.
Okay, awesome. Great to connect with you all here. I think for us, the kind of main premise for us to be on this call was initially we're being passed with this snapshot, but we also spoke with the Moonwell team, and this was kind of our opportunity to kind of shed some light on what had happened there. So we just did some brief analysis, actually, or rather a very in-depth analysis onto this wallet address, and the conclusion that we sort of came to based on certain transactions and timing is that it is most likely coming from a competitor protocol that is not yet on Moonwell, actually. So we just kind of wanted to highlight this, and first of all, also say thank you for everybody that voted the last time. Like, that's much appreciated. To also get your support for our next snapshot, and to also inspire and encourage everyone that didn't vote last time to please vote this time, as we're not sure if, quote, that person will be voting against us again, which will be quite unfair, but essentially we do need to ramp up more pro votes in order to kind of counter them. So for everybody that did vote, thanks a lot, guys. And for those that didn't vote, it would be great to have your support for next time.
All right, agreed. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah, thank you both. Voter turnout is huge. So yeah, keep the discussions happening. Keep turning out to vote. And yeah, I guess I'll be wrapping up here. If nobody has any final points, I'll just say quick thank you again to all the speakers and everybody listening or watching on YouTube. There's a lot coming in the future to be excited for, so look out for all of those announcements, like I mentioned. And yeah, we'll reconvene again in early October. All right, thank you, everybody. Cheers.